Hi, this is Chris from Discover eLearning, and I'd like to show you some advanced creative image masking techniques that you can use to customize your shape or object transition effects in Articulate Storyline 360. From custom alpha channel mask shapes that all work independently from one another, to masks that can be applied to different layers on the same slide, all is possible in Storyline with the help of JavaScript. Before we get into today's video, I'd like to tell you about our latest Advanced eLearning Developer Series online courses that are now available to purchase from the Discover eLearning website. If you've been looking to push your creative and technical skills even further, then these courses have been made for you, as you'll get to explore advanced level storyline development techniques such as this one that turns the humble scrolling panel object into an X-ray window on your slide. As well as an exploration of the JavaScript programming that makes all of this work, we also focus on several practical applications for the technique to help you generate some unique ideas for your own projects. You can access this course right now alongside our popular OpenAI API integration course that shows you how you can combine the power of ChatGPT with Articulate Storyline to create mind-blowing results. We have many more new courses on the way throughout the year, so do keep coming back to check out what's new from Discover eLearning. Okay, let's get started with a recap of what are the most commonly used object masking techniques found in Articulate Storyline, which you are likely already familiar with. First up, we have the scrolling panel technique, which by default causes any image or object within, including text, to not be visible when it has transitioned outside of the scrolling panel frame. This means that if we apply an entrance or exit animation effect to the object within the scrolling panel, then we will only see the object once it has positioned itself within the panel. This is a useful technique for creating object masking effects like this one in Storyline that can be easily moved and customized as needed, but is slightly restrictive in that we can only work with the rectangular area that the scrolling panel provides, and therefore custom mask shapes are out of the question. The second technique is one also found in Storyline, but not widely known about. In fact, many people, including myself, have the Storyline expert Nate Stillman to thank for showcasing the capabilities of the slide background fill technique in one of his most recent YouTube videos. If you mainly follow this channel for our Articulate Storyline content and you haven't discovered Nate's channel yet, then you absolutely must subscribe to him, no question. The way this technique works is that we need to set a background image for our slide. And now any shape we draw can be set within the format shape options to have the background as its fill image. Now anything we add to our slide, as long as it's positioned below the shape we just created, will be masked by the shape. This is another really nice and easy to implement technique in Storyline, which gets over the problem of how we can customize the shape of our masks. But ultimately we are restricted to the background image being our masking element, and we don't have the ability to move or animate the mask shape area without seeing some odd behavior, or use masking in a way that allows us to see what is happening behind the area that we have just drawn. So to accomplish all of that, I would like to introduce you to a more technical method of masking an image using the mask image property available to us in CSS. Though it's a more difficult and code-based approach to implement, it's highly versatile because, as you can see, it opens up the possibility for producing any style of mask shape, as well as how it can be applied to objects within our Storyline projects. Let's start with a simple demo of this for a single image on our slide. I'm going to be using the data accessibility text attribute of the image to target it in JavaScript later, so I have this set to forest. Now we need to design our mask shape, and we could do this in Photoshop or any other design tool if you really needed to fine-tune the result. And it makes things a little easier that way, but in this video I'm going to show you how we can achieve the exact same result entirely in Storyline. For my alpha channel mask of this image, I'm actually going to use some extra bold font. When drawing what will become your mask shape, you don't have to worry about its colour, so just set this to something that helps you see it over the top of your actual image. Now the next step is to draw a rectangle that covers the entire slide area. Take out the outline of the rectangle and set the fill transparency to 99%. And what we're going to do is export both of these objects together out of Storyline as a picture. Make sure the picture format is PNG and save the image somewhere helpful, like in the same folder as your Storyline project. Okay, let's take a look at the image that we've just created, which I'll open in Photoshop to show you. And as you can see, Storyline has produced an image that we can use as our mask image, where what will be visible is the font at 100% alpha opacity, and everything behind it, although not 0% opacity, is extremely close and will do the same job of applying the transparency. By the way, you'll see why we created this almost fully transparent shape when exporting our mask image, as without it, or even setting this to 0%, will result in it not being included in the exported shape, and therefore this wouldn't create the layered effect we are after on our slide. Okay, now we have our mask image, we need to make it available within our project so that our custom JavaScript function is able to access, and the simplest method of doing this is to reference it within a trigger. So draw a shape somewhere outside of the visible slide area and create a trigger to open URL or file when the shape is clicked. And click on the three dots in order to search for and select the image file you just created. Now by doing this, every time we publish our project, the image file will be included in the project's published file structure within a folder called external_files in the story_content directory. This is a far better method than copy pasting the file into our published project folder every time. Plus, if we ever update the mask file itself, we don't have to make any changes to our trigger because Storyline will always grab the latest version of the file whenever we publish the project. Alright, now it's time to get into some JavaScript. So create a new trigger to execute JavaScript when the timeline starts. Let's begin by assigning the div containing our nature image to a JS variable. So type let forest image equals document dot query selector with a capital S, open and close parentheses and add a semicolon, and then within the parentheses add single quotes, type the word div, and then in square brackets type data -acc -text equals, and in double quotes, the word forest. And now let's write the CSS rules to apply our custom mask shape as an alpha layer mask to this div. Starting with forest image dot style dot webkit mask image with a capital M and a capital I equals, and in single quotes, URL, open and close parentheses, and in double quotes, we will type the path to our image, which will be /story_content /external_files /masklayer.png. End that line with a semicolon. Let's now duplicate that line and remove the word WebKit and change the M to lowercase. We use the WebKit specific rules to ensure that we cover as many different browser types as possible. Now we don't want the mask to repeat, but we do want it to cover the div entirely, so we'll also include forestimage.style.webkit mask repeat with a capital M and a capital R equals no-repeat in single quotes. End that line with a semicolon, and duplicate the line and remove the word WebKit and change the M to a lowercase to target non-WebKit browsers. And then let's type forest image.style.webkit mask size with a capital M and a capital S equals cover in single quotes. End that line with a semicolon, and let's duplicate the line to once again target non-WebKit browsers. That's everything in place, so let's OK out of this and preview the result. We're only seeing the effect applied to a static image right now, of course, and we didn't place anything behind our foreground to become visible as a result of the mask shape, so let's upgrade our project a little, and at the same time, how about we mask a moving video instead of an image? Let's keep our nature scene as the background, and over the top of this, we'll add something from the content library 360 video selection. Let's give the video a data ACC text value, and in my JavaScript, we'll update that value in the first line of code. Let's see what this looks like now. The effect really brings the message to life, and we could play with the composition a little more by perhaps using the text layer to add either a shadow or outline around the video to help it to stand out more against the background. At this point, we have a custom mask applied to a single object on our slide, but we might hit a problem if we plan to animate the position of that object behind the mask, because as you'll see here, if we try to do this, both the object and the mask animate at the same time. So how do we instead separate these? Well, the best method we can use is to apply the mask to the entire layer rather than a single object. That way, not only can we manage multiple object masking all from within one timeline, but if we were setting up a project with multiple masks all containing different shapes, then we could manage this by having the mask set up on different layers on our slide. Let's take a look at this technique first of all in place on the base layer of our slide. I have a single video object ready to transition in when the timeline starts, and a mask image loaded in ready to be used. And if we look at what's happening this time in JavaScript, you can see we're still using a query selector method, but this time we are targeting the class name of our base layer div as has been set by Articulate Storyline. With this assigned to our JavaScript variable, we can apply the mask image styling as done on the previous slide. Let's preview this in Storyline and see how this looks. And as you can see, we now have a permanently fixed mask shape applied to the base layer, and anything we add to the layer will now only be visible within the mask image that I am using. So now that we've seen how custom mask shapes can be applied to an entire slide layer, what would be most beneficial for us is to discover next how we can apply a mask image to any layer we wish on our project in order to have multiple shapes affecting different objects in different ways, but all on the same slide. Let's see that in action right now and have a look at the updated process we need to use in JavaScript in order to make this work. So on this slide, I have a sequence of video clips that are going to play one after another in order. So to begin with, we will see the base layer and this layer directly above, which I want to apply a mask to so the video reads as the word spring. Then at the end of this layer timeline, we're going to load in the next two layers with this as the video layer for summer, and then the next two layers for autumn, and finally the last two layers for winter. I have my alpha mask images ready to go for each layer, loaded into the project using the open file trick on each layer, as you can see. So let's open up the JavaScript code and see what's going on. So as we saw before, we are using the same query selector method to target the base layer initially, but of course it's not actually the base layer that we are interested in, it's the top layer in this case. And that's why we therefore include this new line in order to target that specific layer div using the .next sibling property in JavaScript. This works to effectively select whatever would be the next div within the same parent div that contains all of the slide layers, including the base layer. And usually the way that Storyline will render each layer div in HTML is to have the base layer at the top of the stack, followed by each layer running down the document, starting with whatever is the topmost layer in your layer stack overall in Storyline. So a single .next sibling property will return the first added layer to the slide, and then we apply the CSS mask rules to this as normal. So let's see what's occurring on the next mask layer, and remember this is the third layer down in our slide stack. And overall, this is the exact same code, but notice that we don't use a single .next sibling property, but instead concatenate 3 together, like so. This is therefore what gets us to the correct layer in the stack, the 3rd layer. And for the 5th layer JavaScript code, as you might have already guessed, this time we have 5 .next sibling properties written in order to target the 5th layer from top. And by now you can probably guess just how many .next sibling properties we have written on the 7th layer from top. Yep, you knew it was going to be 7 of course, and other than just updating the URL path to the correct mask image I want to use on each layer, that is effectively all that needs to be done. So we can go ahead and preview the result of this now, and remember that everything you are seeing is as a result of multiple mask images applied across various layers within the exact same slide. Hopefully this video has demonstrated just some of the multitude of creative possibilities that are achievable with this advanced masking technique used in your own articulate storyline projects. We've been quite heavy on the use of text shapes, specifically for our mask effects during this video, but as one of our most recent storyline project demos uploaded to YouTube shows, ultimately any conceivable shape can be drawn and used to create your layered mask image effects. We're going to be wrapping things up here in this video, but I'm exploring the idea of publishing more short follow-up tutorial courses to our Storyline Magic series over on the Discover eLearning website, where for example you would get the opportunity to actually build this entire project with me from start to end, covering the complete development process, and that would include all asset and project files available to download as well. So let me know in the comments if that type of training content is something that you would like to see more of, and please do help me to grow my channel by giving this video a like and also hitting the subscribe button to hear the moment that we publish a new video. Thanks again for watching, do take care, and I'll see you again very soon.